I'm here with Anthony Wong, Group Managing Director of Asian Overland Services, based in Kuala Lumpur. And want to say that Anthony, while we have families in like A&K, Abercrombie and Kent, who are rather well known for work that they've done in ecotourism or alternative tourism, and we have Lindblad, and we have mountain travel and things. For those of you who don't know, Anthony has been doing responsible travel, ecotourism travel in Southeast Asia since the 70s, himself and his wife Cindy, and they're still at it today. And we have the opportunity to visit with Anthony. How are you doing?
Thank you. Very well. Still very busy. And you're correct. I started in '73 as a student with student travel. But when I left high school, I started the company in 1976. And of course, in the old days, I spent so much time in the jungle. Where's Mr. Wong in the jungle? Where's Mr. Wong in the jungle? They used to call me, where's Jungle Wong? You know? But I'm glad that now with climatic change, people are a lot more serious, that they look at sustainable or responsible tourism much more seriously, and it's become mainstream. Yeah. Well, in those days it was like an elective. If you're interested in tourism and hospitality, then eco or nature tourism is an option. But today, when they go into planning, they have to look at the environment issue first, then they plan. And the government are all now aware of this, and I'm glad that UNWTO has taken such a strong stand on this issue. Although PATA already in the early days had looked at the environment, but now with the UN looking at it, I think it will be much easier to speak this language.
We're going to work backwards. What are you doing nowadays? Besides being Group Managing Director of Asian Overland, I see here that you are involved, and I hear with a few other organizations. Somebody said you're in the high yield convention business.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
Now, to survive, you have to go higher yield. So, from the 80s, when I combined nature tours with normal tours, we became incentive travel, and that was already high yield. But then later on, they say incentive travel it's a no because it's what you call bribery. So we used the outdoor to do corporate training. That was high yield. But we noticed that a lot of incentive and corporate training, they have big gathering, they have meetings. So 1990, we went into the meeting business. It's what you call professional conference organizer, or what you call PCO. And in '98, when you had the Commonwealth Games, we handled in fact, all the delegates from Australia and UK.
Which game?
Commonwealth Games.
Commonwealth Games.
Commonwealth.
Where was that?
That was in Kuala Lumpur in '98. And '99, we had the Formula One. I've been handling the bulk of it for the last 8 years. So we went to event tourism. So it was an organic growth. So today, I'm the third vice president of the world called ICA that focus on association meeting.
Yeah? What does ICA stand for?
International Conference and Convention Association, based in Amsterdam. But I'm also, last year I was elected the president of the Malaysian Meeting Association. But I'm also the president of SITE, Society of Incentive Travel for Executive, which is in incentive travel.
Yes.
And
for the international
just the Malaysian president.
Malaysian.
In fact, we are bidding for the next board meeting in Kuala Lumpur. So this is where you add value to what you call tourism, but the meeting and event business is not really tourism, it's like a business tourism, where the decision is not by individual, the decision is made by company, while leisure is decision made by personal interests. Yeah, there's a big difference.
Right. Now, of course, it depends on what kind of conference or meeting and where, what distances people are traveling, but from some of the experiences I've had, up to a third or 40% of meeting attendees bring their spouse.
Yes.
Is that, and then they take some personal travel after that.
In the field of incentive, conference, exhibition, and event, because of business is paid, they sometimes take their family along because they're so busy. So that's what you call the value-added pre and post tours. And another area that I'm spending a lot of time is I'm also a young professor in a university, a public university here, and I'm also advising four other university. And I teach, and I lecture around the world. So although I'm away 6 to 7 months, so out of that about 2 months is teaching and sharing my knowledge around the region.
Let's go back now in time. I was asking you earlier about what happened to those. You're telling me you recently got into building some hotels, but I was asking you what happened to those lodges or things you built back in the 80s or something. Tell me about that.
Okay, I did not build lodges. I one of the area that we did was we developed homestay. So from the 70s itself, I encourage villagers to convert their home for travelers. So that's very successful in Malaysia. The government has taken it and they sort of spearhead. So there are many villages with homestay. But another area I helped was in the longhouse in Borneo, we adopted a longhouse and it became one of the best eco longhouse. But you know, sometimes if you give everything to rural community, they do not appreciate it. So
You gave it to them for free.
for free.
Get into that a little bit. What did you do, and what did you pass on for free to the villagers?
This village was in the interior of Borneo. For accessibility, we bought 3 boats for them. For communication, we got a mobile phone. In the old days, it was half a briefcase, you know. And we put money to expand the longhouse. So all the infrastructure cost was with us. All the marketing cost was with us. So you know, they had no sort of cost except put in some labor. So you know, from the day one they had tourists for 2, 3, 4 person, they would earn income. But they didn't realize that 2, 3, 4 passenger we actually lost money. We subsidized it till the break-even was 6, and then we could actually get a reasonable income. So you know, when you give everything free for some communities, sometimes they don't appreciate it. But we lost it because you know a logging company offered them a lot of money for the forest, and the forest was gone, the water was bad, and they started building concrete longhouses. We couldn't run a program like that anymore. Yeah.
But when that program started, you were telling me that their income was how much, and then it raised to how much over what period of time?
Okay. Within 3 years, we increased their income per family about 2.5 times. So, it was really sort of recognized that this nature tourism or ecotourism helped the local community. And even the government, the Minister of Tourism from the state of Sarawak, Borneo, at the time, James Basing, recognized that the work was fantastic. But they say the decision must be with the local community. If they want to sell the forest, it's up to them. If they want to build concrete logging house, it's up to them, because we have to respect the needs of the local community. But after they lost it, 2 years later, they came back to me and say, "Can you help us again to build and expand that longhouse?" I say, "Sorry, you don't have a forest. The water is dirty. People cannot go to concrete longhouse, and you can't build a house where when tourists come, you come and live in it. When they're not there, you go back to the concrete house." I say that's not the way. People want real tourism. So things like that happen, and this you see many of these people, they don't realize that tourism is very long term and it helps everybody. So sometimes when you leave it to the local community, there is also a lot of problem. You know, because leadership is the issue. When the new chief or new head comes in, they may not want to continue and they have different ideas. So there is a lot of up and down helping rural tourism, or you know.
I'm sure you've learned every time you learn,
Yes.
and that one you certainly learned. But are you not able to enter into a contract that each village chief or community have to abide by from chief to chief?
Now I am actually helping many communities or even developing national park. So the first thing I will do is I will do a local study. With the studies were done by the university and NGO. So they must agree how they want to be involved, how they see themselves involved in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, so that there is a contract from the beginning, what they expect, and what they expect to put in return. So in that sense, I get the local politics involved, I get the government involved, I get the NGO, I got the university involved before we actually start a project, so that all the ground rules are set, and they will also have to invest because we get them involved. So in that sense, there's more commitment, there's more strategic planning.
How much were you involved in the planning for Visit Malaysia 2007?
This was done by the former Director General, so they did get us involved, but I believe this year was a little bit late compared to the last, because I say there's change of minister, there's change of Director General, sometimes changes in government because of the structure, planning sometimes is not as good, yeah, and this is in many government, there is always change of leadership. So we had very good, two successful Visit Malaysia, but it's still early to say because they put in a lot of money in the television. So every time this is a third Visit Malaysia, I've been involved in 34 years, we always see a boom in arrival in the country. So this is still the beginning, so I can't say that how successful it is.
If there's anybody who knows a little bit about, or a lot about marketing, it's Anthony, because I don't know how many trade shows you've been to.
Yes, yes.
You must have brochure arm. I was just talking to Peter DeYoung earlier from PATA, and he's saying that PATA is changing from a marketing organization to an advocacy research organization. How do you view that shift to affect the region?
I think PATA has to move with time, and they are doing the right thing in advocacy and research, because if things has to be recognized, it has to be measured. So if it's not measured, it's not recognized. So they are in that area. They are actually advising a lot of government, and it's like just now there was a question that came out on climatic change, and someone asked if air travel is 2%. What is the rest? And the person in climate say is natural. Actually, PATA has done a research, and this was done with FAO, that 18% is transportation. Yeah, beside air travel is 2%, 18% general transportation, ferry, car, trucks, buses. But 16% is actually animals. It's actually beef. The cow give out a lot of methane, and also and actually eating beef is actually destroying our environment. It produces a lot of methane and carbon dioxide.
So you believe, going back to PATA, you believe that's a good change for travel and tourism and the travel suppliers. And
Yes. It's also getting the government and the academic together. So it's not just the industry people. It started with industry, but of course now it's very much complete, from planning to research to academia, so that you need to have a body that's linking everybody together. Yeah, I'm a active member in PATA. In fact, I'm as a co-chairman on the education committee with Professor Kay Chong from Hong Kong University. Is the dean there, and I've always been in the environment committee, and I'm very passionate about environment, because we have only one Mother Earth, and if we don't do it now, it's for the children. We are living in someone else's time, our children's time. Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Anthony, thank you so much.